was 8 years old. So that was Angel's first elimination he ever participated in for the Mexican Mafia. And it was kind of unprecedented. His whole life was destroyed. Here's the secret. The cops were setting up rooster fights. They would pop the doors of two enemies and they would let them fight in the tier and then shoot one of them. That was a philosophy. It was just an elimination. Hey folks, my name is Rene Enriquez and you're watching Uncensored. I've shown a bunch of debriefs, including my own, and it's kind of unprecedented, right? They got a bunch of guys together right after myself, Angel Valencia, and Chino Delgadillo had dropped out together. And I'm the one that convinced them to come over. We had 3 major Mexican Mafia members taking a dive on the same week. And I told Angel Valencia that he was in a hat. In a hat means that you're on the hit list. And the reason being was that he started targeting family members. It was a concept of a group of radicals in the organization during the C and D facility wars at Pelican Bay, that if they couldn't get to Mexican Mafia members, they would target their families. Well, in 2000, we were allowed to do these peace talks. And during these peace talks, myself, Danny Pina, and Jaco Padilla were allowed to walk the entirety of Pelican Bay shoe. This is unprecedented, like really, truly unprecedented. We were allowed to go into every block and talk to all the inmates. And it's then that we established the first steps in the peace accord that exists today on the yard. We established what was called the door policy. We made the accord with all the organizations that if the doors open up, nobody would take action unless they were challenged. So it was stand your ground, essentially. You weren't no longer obligated to attack somebody if the doors opened up, because that was a regular phenomenon. The cops were setting up rooster fights. They would pop the doors of two enemies and they would let them fight in the tier and then shoot one of them. And inmates were really getting shot with their Ruger 223 and Mini 14. Grumpy from Garrity was one of them, got shot in the hip and laid out. And other guys were catching time behind it. So everybody understood that it was a setup. But during this process, I was able to speak with Daniel Grajeda. Daniel Grajeda was one of my arch enemies, and so was Angel Valencia. We approached the cell of Daniel Grajeda, and he provides me with a letter. He claims it's written by Angel Valencia. And in it, Angel Valencia is talking all kinds of smack about a bunch of brothers. Guate was a master politician, and he would use any tactic available. By that time, Guate was once their ally. Tablas, Angel Valencia, Tigre Salinas, What Smooth from the Valley, and Angel were all allies, and they came up with this concept to start an organization within the organization. They wanted to call it Verdaderos, and they were going to be an elite group, kind of like an inner council, right? Some secret thing they had going on. But in that group, they created this hit list, and they talked about all this stuff, killing family members, eliminating family members, and it was crazy. So Cuate hands me this letter, and in it, it has those words. We will eliminate the family members of any carnal that comes up to visit. We'll have somebody follow them and eliminate them. In it, it has those words. We will eliminate the family members of any carnal that comes up to visit. We'll have somebody follow them and eliminate them on the way home. And I grabbed the letter, and I showed it to Danny, and I showed it to Jaco Padilla. And we took it to every carnal in Pelican Bay and showed it to him. And everybody immediately turned on Angel Valencia. Here's the secret. The letter was authored by Daniel Grajeda. I knew it. I recognized his writing immediately. I didn't say that at all. I seen the opportunity to eliminate a political opponent, which was Angel. Guate was already marginalized. Angel wasn't. So I used that letter and took it everywhere. Showed it to every brother. We had it in our pocket, and boom, we were taking it everywhere. Everybody saw it, and everybody agreed upon it. And I knew it was Guate that wrote that letter, and it worked. Everybody voted Angel out, and that was his demise in the organization right there. And I did the same thing with David Delgadillo. David Delgadillo was a different story. He was a different story. He had called Richard Aguirre a rat, and we had the transcripts. This is in 1995 when we went out for the first RICO case, the United States of America versus Alex Aguirre. 13 of us were on the bus. We were given a bunch of transcripts, and in those transcripts, David Delgadillo, Chino from Garrity, was calling and accusing Richard Aguirre, Psycho from the Avenues, of being a rat. In fact, I had a handcuff key and a knife, and I offered them to Richard Aguirre, and I told him, I'll help you. We'll whack the guy right here on the transport bus. And he declined. He gave him a pass, which was, in my eyes, like cowardice. He had the opportunity to do it. He didn't do it. But later on, they used that issue to put Chino in the hat, and I tell them exactly why they're in the hat. And they decided to come over and debrief. So you're seeing a collective here of multiple carnales debriefing, myself, Angel, and Chino. But it's not only that. You have Epitacio Cortina, who's an NF Cat 1 member who debriefed. You also have Jason Glaza, youngster from NLR. There was my cellie in the THU when I came back after I did my debrief with the FBI. And then you'll see a big guy. His name is Walter Farmer. He's an AB guy. Walter Farmer was a beast. He was a huge guy, as big as a door. but he was a gentle soul. We have all these people in these debriefings here, and I'm going to run it for you. But the first one and most powerful piece is Angel Valencia. He's going to tell a story about the first murder he ever committed.
They took me to a dope fiend house, and they said that we're going to test you. And they just said, kill him. When we hold him, he's going to slam, let him go slam. He's going to sit down on the chair. And when you see us get on the side of him and hold his arms, he's not going to suspect you're just a little kid. Jump on his chest with a knife and start whacking him. So I did that. And after that, I think they used me about 2 or 3 more times.
So that was Angel's first elimination he ever participated in for the Mexican Mafia. He was 8 years old. That's crazy. 8 years old. And his father and another Mexican Mafia associate had him eliminate an individual. And just look at Angel's face in that video, and he looks miserable. And Angel was miserable. He recently passed, and may he rest in peace, but he was a miserable, angry man. And you could see why. His whole life was destroyed. His whole life was destroyed. From childhood, he was immersed in extreme violence. This next person is Jason Glaza. That was my cellie. And Jason Glaza was a big boy. Good guy, really good heart. And this is him talking about his experience with the NLR. This is in a period where the Aryan Brotherhood, that incorporated a bunch of NLR members in the infrastructure of the Aryan Brotherhood, kind of like the Sureños, had incorporated a bunch of NLR members. I think it was Blues Crew, and Jason was one of those guys.
I took the initiative and I cut his throat on the yard and basically set an example for everybody out there that if you're going to run your mouth about the Nazi lowriders, we're going to try to kill you.
He was a gung-ho youngster. As a matter of fact, I heard he got out, and I hope he's doing well. This next person is Walter Farmer. Walter is an Aryan Brotherhood member. In fact, he did an elimination attempt in a cell in Pelican Bay Shoe. I think it went wrong. He threw the knife out of the cell, and he was criticized for it. So when you drop out of a gang and you go to the debrief process, you go to this place in Pelican Bay called C12. It was the PC unit where everybody goes to the debriefs. Once you complete your debrief, they send you to the general population yard. We had our own section, our own yard, our own gym. It was called THU, Transitional Housing Unit. We ran with our own little crew. Everybody else despised us, right? Particularly Mexican Mafia members. I don't know why. Maybe they were resentful because we were an icon of what caused their downfall. But it's like that in all SMY. You know, everybody talks crap. They don't say it to your face. They talk behind your back. But nobody messed with us. I mean, we were deep there. We were deep. And this is Walter Farmer participating in this debrief.
I was asked to put somebody down on the yard because he was in the hat, what they call in the hat when they're in trouble with the Aryan Brotherhood. And I went out in the yard and I stabbed him, and I actually got away with it. I went out in the yard and I stabbed him, and I actually got away with it.
They called him Bigfoot, but we just called him Foot. All right, in this next video is Angel Valencia. Angel Valencia is talking about the green light process. I've talked about that extensively on the channels. But look at David Delgadillo. He doesn't say a word. And that's really how he was. I heard that he recently paroled, which good for him. I wish you the best, David, but I heard he just got violated as well for a domestic dispute, some kind of domestic violence dispute, which is really a huge thing with long-term prisoners paroling, right? Two of the major causes for recidivism for parolees that serve 20 years or more is substance abuse or domestic violence, right? And unfortunately, David is doing a 90-day violation now. But here's Angel Valencia. Let's just look at his image. He looks miserable. And he was, I'm telling you, Angel was miserable. He was an angry, angry little man. He was a short little guy, but he was built like a stump. So people would call him Stump, right? That was his nickname in the Mexican Mafia.
So they'll put a green light on their neighborhood.
The Mexican Mafia will.
That was Special Agent Robert Marquez from the Special Services Unit in Redding, California. I remember he was just a regular sergeant, and then he became a lieutenant, and then he went SSU. In fact, he completed my debrief, and he would handle me when I was flying back and forth between Los Angeles and Pelican Bay. I would see him, they would escort me, his guys would come get me, the goon squad, and they provided security for me.
Yeah, they'll get a few associates from every gang and go to their neighborhood and just start getting off on them, shooting. Then they have to pay to get that green light off them. So They more or less got everybody loyal down there out of fear.
And were they a big influence within your community back when you were a youngster?
That individual is from Richmond, California. He's from Richmond PD. I forget his name, but he interviewed me as well. The person you see in the back mirror with his back facing towards the camera is Special Agent Dan Avanella. They call him Rojo. And he talked like this. He would say, "No bueno, boxer. No bueno." And he despised me. He did not like me. In fact, when they picked me up in my initial departure from Pelican Bay in a van, he had a little pimped out surveillance van, and they took me in the van, and he's the one that drove me to Walnut, California, where I started my debrief for the FBI. And he didn't like me at all. To this day, I don't know why. I don't really care. You know, there's a lot of people that just don't like who I am, what I did. They don't agree with me being out, and he's one of them. But God bless him. He's retired now. He was a special agent for the Special Services Unit. He was also FBI, United States Marshals Task Force as well.
Yes, you've always had one or two brothers from the neighborhood
That there is Loco Joe from San Diego. He dropped out right before I dropped out, and he was already in the THU. And one of the things I noticed about Joe was as soon as all of us got to the THU, he would not talk to us. He didn't want to be around us. Like, he acted angry. And I used to get along great with this guy. I loved him because he was crazy. He was off the hook with his humor and his gregariousness. And I really liked the guy. And I just couldn't figure out what the turn was about. And I came to realize later on that when I went to PC, all these people that were cool with me before, I didn't get along with after. Or I'd see they change, right? Like, oh, man, that guy's sleazy, or, oh, that guy's got some messed up ways, right? But I came to realize this is who they always were. And the person that I knew when we were active in the mob was a facade, right? They just put up that front. They were willing to do stuff. They were eager to do stuff. But once they get over to the PCR, they're resentful and angry and bitter. But that's who they always were. They just masked it really well. And the same with me. Boxer was a facade. That was all fake, right? But it came to that stark realization once I got there, that you're seeing the true person. He didn't change, you know, whether he's doing sleazy, dopey moves or acting hateful and spiteful and politicking on everybody on that yard. That is who they really are. That's who they always have been. But they had to contain that within the organization or they would get whacked out. So he couldn't act that way with us as an active sureño and camarada. He would have got whacked out. But he can act any way he wants now because he's in PC, and he's showing the true self. And that's what I saw in THU. He was resentful, he was angry, he got washed up, and we were the icons and the symbols of his demise in the organization. So he had resentment.
Basically, they run the entire neighborhood. All the drug houses, you can't do nothing without them knowing first.
Joe was a good friend of Güero Sherm from San Diego. We all know that name. And he was like his right-hand man. When he came with all kinds of information about Sherm. We're going to do a specific episode about that in the near future. Güero Sherm's coming up soon, folks. But this is me and another part of this same debrief. I showed you a segment before. The individual in the middle is Richard Valdemar. That's Richard Valdemar, the same individual interviewing me in Walnut Sheriff Station in the Being Made series, when Chris Blatchford and I are talking about issues that we want to put in the book, right? And we're doing that videotape series. This is the same guy here. Individual to the right is Robert Marquez, special agent from the SSU. And the individual in that yellow shirt is a representative from Richmond PD. I think he's the assistant chief or something like that. I'm not sure. We use a method of communication which I like to call carnival talk. It sounds innocuous to you and I, but it's nefarious. Its underlying intent is nefarious. Say that I had a visitor and I told the visitor, hey, how's Joe doing? Joe's doing fine. Yeah? Why don't you ask Berta to go over there and see him and make sure she talks to him for me. Give him my very best. Okay, to you it sounds like Berta's going to go over there and give him regards. But to me, I've just authorized a hit against this individual. And in any court of law, it can't be proven. Because it sounds so generic. It just sounds generic. I mean, we can talk about money, we can talk about crimes, we can talk about drug collections, extortions, taking cars, pink slips, whatever we want. And we do this all day long. We understand that we're being recorded. Let's stop that right there. So carnival talk, right? I mean, the formal name for it is informal gang code. Informal gang code is a manner of communication in which two individuals are predisposed to understand the underlying content of the message. So I speak to you about a baseball game. Hey, did you watch the game last night? Yeah, I saw the game. And then I say, Steve was terrible on the mound. I didn't even know why they have him as a pitcher. He doesn't even belong on the team. And you respond, yeah, he did terrible. He didn't play well at all. And that's it. That's the message, right? It sounds like we're talking about a baseball game. Could have been a Dodgers game, could have been a Padres game, could have been an Atlanta game, could have been any game. But the Steve we're talking about is a Mexican Mafia associate or Mexican Mafia member. And the message has been sent. He's terrible. He shouldn't be on the team. That's the message. You, understanding that I'm not talking about baseball, know that I'm talking about Steve, who could be sleepy or sad boy or whoever, right? You understand that I'm saying he needs to be removed from the team. That is the heart of informal gang code. It's spontaneous, and there is no algorithm to convert plain text into ciphertext. That's a cipher. A cipher is different than a code. A code is a word or collection of words that have significant meaning. And there is no algorithm here. It's all spontaneous and it's made up as you go. So a normal code requires a code book, right? Where certain words, dog means cat, ball means drugs, car means house. That's a code. But this is all spontaneous. It's all spontaneous. And it's extremely defensible. Well, not for the guys who use it in the cases that I testified on, because it's pretty open and shut. But if you're smart about it, you could utilize this to circumvent law enforcement and security measures in prisons, right? I did it all the time. I did it for years and never got caught once. In fact, they didn't even know it existed until I debriefed and talked to them about it. And that's what we're talking about here. This is stuff that I had never studied. I had never studied this stuff. I just thought it up as I went along. And it worked. It worked amazingly well. I mean, I never got a 115. I never got charged. I never got a RICO indictment because I got away with it. And I'm not bragging about that. This is just a reality, right?
And we alter our conversation a bit to sound innocuous. And we have the institutional gang investigators just scratching their heads sometimes. And what does this mean? And what does this mean?
If one person's transferring, say, going out to court, we'd send him with what we call little huilas, kites, where he'd have them key-shirt or he'd swallow them. So when he transferred, he'd bring them out, hand them over to who he needs to hand them to. The same way goes for on the streets, somebody paroling.
Stop the presses right there. That's Epitacio Cortina, Epi from Fresno. And he was an NF member. And he was a pretty cool dude. He was one of the clerks in the gym. We had our own gym. And in it was a school and everything, right? Guys would leave in the morning and go into that gym, and they'd stay there all day till like 2 or 3, and then they'd come out and come back to the unit. We'd have yard. I mean, it was a really plush, nice program, right? I personally did not have to go to that school. I didn't want to. It's one of my agreements with Assistant Director Brian Perry, head of the SSU and head of the CDCR. I met with him, and I had an agreement just to transfer to the THU for 60 days for an adjustment period. And he said, you don't have to do any programs. You could just kick it there. And then once you decompress, because that's what they wanted me to do. Go to the THU at Pelican Bay State Prison to decompress and to acclimate to being around a lot of inmates, because I have been isolated for years and years and years. You decompress, because that's what they wanted me to do. Go to the THU at Pelican Bay State Prison to decompress and to acclimate to being around a lot of inmates, because I have been isolated for years and years and years. And I just returned from Walnut Sheriff Station and was coming back to the CDC to presumably do the rest of my life in prison. But I met this guy, Epi Cortina. He's been on a couple of shows, MSNBC, a couple other Lock Up Raw, and all that other stuff, right? And I heard that he got out. But he had a problem with substance abuse. Again, those two main reasons that inmates recidivate. And I heard he went back for a parole violation on his life sentence. I'm not even sure if he was doing a life sentence. I'm just assuming that he was. But he got out and returned for substance abuse and parole violation. I hope he's doing well. Epi, you're out there. Peace to you, brother.
We'd send him with the whole roster of who needs to get hit, guidelines, what needs to be done.
He's talking about huilas, Huilas, not WILAS. Huilas, right? Those are written messages, written in microscript, that are wrapped in plastic and secreted in the that's where they go, right there. Well, people, we call it keystering, right? They insert it in the rectum, and they parole, or they go to a different part of the prison, they take it out and they give it to the person, right? Or you could swallow it, or you can secrete it in your mouth. But they search your mouth pretty good. They make you pull your lips back. They make you stick your tongue out. They make you run your finger around your mouth. They look really thoroughly in the cavities they can see. So they had these things called unclosed cavity searches where you're exposing everything, right? In fact, they go as far as to telling male inmates that are uncircumcised to pull back their foreskins. They do that, and it's degrading. It's degrading when you go through these searches because it could be a female officer searching you, and she's telling you to spread your buttocks so she could see if you have anything in there. Anywhere you can hide something, they're looking at, right? So the main way to get these kites around, these huilas, is to insert them in your body. And that's what he's talking about.
And he'd carry out those messages with them.
Any Mexican Mafia member can authorize a hit on anybody, as long as it's not a relative of another Mexican Mafia member or a worker of a Mexican Mafia member. But now it's become like a phenomenon out of control. There are lists that are 4 or 5 pages long, and they're authorized hard candy, hard check, personal check, you know. And this is ridiculous to the hardcore members of the Mexican Mafia, because we believe that an assault, once authorized, should be murder. I mean, the individual should be killed because you don't go in to create an enemy.
It is a phenomenon out of control. Those lists are so long with so many people that they could never possibly get them all. But it's a terror tactic. That piece of paper is a terror tactic. Oh, you don't want to be on the list. Oh my gosh, you don't want to be on the list. That's what everybody thinks, right? But it's really become kind of a joke that so many people are on this thing. So many gangs now resist the organization. We're going to do an episode on that too. I swear we're going to do all these episodes that I say because they pop in my head. That's an episode. But I have these. I'm already formulating them and collecting the graphics and video clips and all that stuff for them. And these lists became so overwhelming because they're created by meseros. The real word in Spanish means like waiter or servant, right? But meseros indicate that they're sitting at the table of an ad hoc commission comprised of sureños and camaradas that control specific facilities when Mexican Mafia members aren't present. So these guys having a little bit of power. And I tell you, all meseros, guys in that infrastructure of the hierarchical system that's set up by the Mexican Mafia, are crash test dummies because they end up on this paper too. 99% of them never survive. They end up in PC or they end up getting whacked. It's a place to go to end your criminal career, right? Unless you're really good and you're a solid dude, you make it through, and you might possibly be considered as material to become a carnal, but that's pretty rare.
You don't go to assault somebody because it destroys them. I mean, their whole resume as a up-and-coming sureño or camarada is marred once they're assaulted. So you want to go to whack somebody, I mean, you want to make sure he's killed. So and they use multiple assailants. They use backup shooters. They use bump cars. I mean, they're strategically done. I mean, some of them are just done where they stick the gun out the window and boom, they do it, you know. But some of them, they're well put together. They're well put together. A conservative estimate, there's 150,000 to 175,000 individuals that know the name Mexican Mafia. They'd fear it, and they will do things for it. Hardcore individuals, say maybe 50,000. Soldados, which are soldiers. But the group is small. The Mexican Mafia is small in itself. I mean, it has vast influence. Vast influence. And that's in California. We're not considering the Arizona. We're not considering the Hawaii faction. We're not considering the federal faction.
That was a philosophy before. It was just an elimination. Like, we're going strong, and it's to take them out because individuals are libraries of information. That's how it was explained to me when I was made, that when we move on a carnal, it's to eliminate him because he's a library of information. And once he's hit, if he survives, he's telling everything. Everybody knows that. Once you debrief, you tell everything. So that was the principle. Now it's like south siding and 39 sopas, Sky Virgin, where's her head? That was her favorite phrase. Give him 39 sopas. That means to beat him for 39 seconds. And what is that? What's the significance of that number? It's the increment of 13 times 3, right? 39, hence 39. Right? They have all these different disciplinary methods, right? Fining and taxing and beat downs and 113 burpees, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Whereas before, camaradas were embraced. Nobody ever put their hands on them. In my entire career, 2 camaradas were beaten physically without a knife because we wanted to save them. And we negotiated that rather than eliminating them. And that was honest to God truth. 2 camaradas. And I was sad when it happened because they were good dudes, but it was better than being eliminated. And they took it. But now it's like this ridiculous, different personal candy, hard candy, south siding, 39 sopas. It's crazy. But now it's like this ridiculous, different personal candy, hard candy, south siding, 39 sopas. It's crazy.
This is an organization that's truly organized crime. In our neighborhoods, we're like, how would we equate it? Like senators. We represent those areas. We go to the neighborhood and we treat it like demigods. You know, this is a big homie, you know? What do you want, you know? Girls, drugs, money, cars, you got it, you know? We make it a profitable proposition. All these murders that are committed for nothing over the past years, we have hundreds of bodies stacked up, literally hundreds of victims that have been killed by the Mexican Mafia. We parlay that, those past victims, even though they didn't pay then, they pay now. They pay now. People pay us for those murders now because we translate this terrorism into finances. Well, you have a facilitator. This individual is usually a visitor who handles all of your communication to the crew chief. The crew chief is the individual who is your right-hand man. He's a representative on the streets. And from there you have crew leaders, individuals who run specific areas for you, parts of your territory. As a member, and then below them there are workers. Those are the guys that are out there actually collecting and selling drugs and doing the extortions for you and enforcing.
And that's the truth. There have been hundreds of people eliminated by the organization. And for what? Nothing, right? And if you look at it, the Mexican Mafia is tiny. 140 guys throughout the United States that control tens of thousands of gang members. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to the organization because they utilize that terror. The fear of being placed on the list, the fear of your neighborhood being targeted, the fear of being victimized in prison as their base of power. If people could see beyond that, I think the organization would be weakening. And it is in a weakened state. We're going to do an episode on that too. I promise. I swear it. We're going to get to it. That's going to be a humdinger, folks. I think this is a humdinger. You're seeing real people debriefing. It's not just one. There's like 5 people already that have debriefed here in this thing, right? And these are extensive. These are the clips that I went through my external. I found these clips. I said, oh, man, this would be a great augmentation to our debrief series.
As a member, you have an organizational entitlement. As soon as you're made, you inherit a piece of turf. It's usually the area which you hail from. Say, I'm boxer from Artesia. As boxer from Artesia, I can conduct any illicit activity in Artesia that I wish without any opposition from the organization. I don't have any kickbacks to give anybody. I don't owe anybody any money. This is all cream for me.
So one day, the Attorney General comes to see me, Angel, and Chino, the 2 individuals I showed you sitting together at the beginning of this video. We're sitting down, and the SSU is there with us, and the IGI, SSU Special Services, Special Agents, and the Institutional Gang Investigators Office is there. And we're talking to the Attorney General. And I'm breaking this down just like this. And who's sitting right next to me being negative Nelly? Angel Valencia. It isn't like that. It ain't like that. I never heard that. That's exactly what he was saying to the AG, and the AG's looking at me and looking at him, just turning his head left to right, looking at Angel, disagree with everything I'm saying. Everything I'm saying. And in my head, I'm saying, you ignorant motherfucker. It's not like that to you because you cannot see it that way. You lack the intelligence to see it that way. And needless to say, we never heard back from the AG. District Attorney's Office was there as well, and they wanted to prosecute the Mexican Mafia. So they were actually marketing a prosecution team. They were bringing on different agencies to take on the prosecution and the indictments. And who f***ed it up? Angel Valencia. He messed it up.
I can also conduct business in the outlying areas as long as it doesn't interfere with another member's business objectives. If it does, we strike an agreement. I'll give you X amount of money, you let me function here, or you give me X amount of money and you can function here. Everybody pays in the mob. Everybody pays. To do business, we all pay. It's smart business. But I can function anywhere in the state of California, anywhere I wish. With the full authority of the Mexican Mafia and the full authority of my crew, me being the figurehead of that crew, the ultimate power in that crew, as long as it does not interfere with other members' business. And if it does, I can easily politic on that member, get him killed, and take over his business. It's that simple. That's all life is in the Mexican Mafia. That's why it's so treacherous.
It's a little different now. There are carnales running territories that they have no business running, but it's given to them by the mesa. There's an ad hoc group of carnales in the organization now that control territories, right? And there's a lot of cronyism going on. Carnales that run what we call like an ad hoc commission in the organization, because the California Mexican Mafia has one. They decide who gets what and what monies go where. Before, it was like wide open territory, like the gold rush. where people running out and sticking little flags in the ground saying, I stake my claim. This is my territory. I'm going to mine from here. I'm going to get gold from here. It was in the early days. And this is the early days. Still in the early days. I debriefed in 2002, and claiming territory was still fresh. Still fresh. This is about what we call the program, the taxation program. And its nascency. It's in its birth, right? And that's how it was back in the day.
I used to run quite a large crew, probably one of the most successful crews in Southern California. And I did it all through visits and mail. We'd alter their names, we'd alter my name when they wrote back, and we conducted business out of Pelican Bay for about 10 years. And I was clearing maybe 60 a year from a cell at Pelican Bay. And that's not bad for being in prison, 1,000 miles away from your base of power. That's not bad at all. And I was clearing maybe 60 a year from a cell at Pelican Bay. And that's not bad for being in prison, 1,000 miles away from your base of power. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, $60,000 doesn't seem like anything today. But in the 90s, it was something, you know. And I'm just the guy sitting in a cell collecting money. I talked about this before, how I had double E series savings bonds, CD accounts, bank accounts. I had an inmate trust account with thousands and thousands of dollars. For me, it was success. I saw, like, oh, wow, I could make real money doing this, right? So I started perfecting this crew. My crew was really quiet, right? It wasn't like Florencia or 18th Street. They're all out there and everybody knows about it. My crew was really quiet. It was ran by one guy named Huck, and he did a great job at it. I mean, we have few businesses. We have part of that club, Baby Doe's. We had a rim shop. We had a bunch of stuff, you know, and he owned everything. I was just the guy, hey, Rene, you got a piece of this. Okay, give me money. And they would. And for me, that was success, right? I was franchising. I was licensing my name out to people, and they'd pay me money to use my name. That's really what it is, a franchise, when you look at it. And this is a concept from Fortune 500 companies, right? Vertical leadership system, status mobility system, brand recognition, franchising, profit sharing, all these things we did, and we didn't even realize we were doing them. That was the beauty of this, right? Because I was fumbling along, oh, this is a good idea, this works. And little did I know I was templating Fortune 500 company practices. I actually have a presentation on that. I did a presentation for the Young Presidents Organization in Los Angeles, California, which is a group of multi-millionaire CEOs and CFOs of company had worth over $100 million. And I did a presentation for them, contemporary business practices in the Mexican Mafia. Because I started studying, right? I started studying and I realized this is, wow, I'm doing this. I'm doing this with gangs, and it worked.
How much is the crew making?
Astronomical amounts. I mean, this is, I'm at the low end of the spectrum being paid. I understand that I'm the figurehead. They're doing all the work. They own legitimate businesses. We had three legitimate businesses, and they ran them. But underneath that, they were doing illicit drug trade, extortion. So if they're driving Mercedes-Benzes, Lexuses, Escalades, they're pulling in 7 figures easy. I mean, the whole of the crew is 7 figures easy. They made far greater amounts of money than me. But I was satisfied with what I got. I was happy. Although with blue-collar money, I put my kids to college, I supported my family, and I did well, I think.
So when conducting searches against...
That last individual is a guy who debriefed me. He came in, it's a special agent from the Special Services Unit. His name is Devin Hawks. His knowledge of the Mafia amazed me. He would click off dates, times, birth dates, birthmarks, anything you wanted to know about a member, he knew it. And look at that antiquated computer in the back, right? That's how old this debrief is, right? But Devin Hawks was an amazing guy. I asked for him specifically. That was the first inmate ever in the history of CDCR to be able to request that a specific person debrief him. And I chose Devin Hawks. And Devin Hawks just kept a tab on all of us, right? And he just had this encyclopedic, amazing knowledge. He's retired now. He's been retired for years and is living his best life. God bless you, Devin, wherever you're at. I'd have to say he does not look like that anymore. Much like me, he's got a bit of gray going on, getting a little older. We all are. But I requested Devin, and I think I made a mortal enemy in doing that in Special Agent Leo Duarte. He hated me. Leo Duarte hated me. I heard that he's the one that wanted to do my debrief, and I really enjoyed my time with him, right? It was a bit adversarial at first because Devin was through and through law enforcement. He was all about making the community safer. He did a lot of outreach work in the local community. Do your thing. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. Subscribe. As always, stay safe. Peace out.